What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel. What we're doing today, we're actually going to be taking the governor off of the Predator 212 engine right here. We're also going to be doing our own custom oil plumbing system here, which I eventually figured out as I was taking this thing apart. I was able to do like take the oil from the inside of the crankcase through a hole that's already made in the engine. I just had to reconfigure it to my own liking, which I had some complications in the end of all this, which you see in the end of the video. But right now we're just going to be taking the front case off, draining the oil and stuff, and basically just getting this thing prepared to get this governor pulled out. Alright guys, so we got the front face off here, as you can see. If you guys don't know these engines, this is your cam, this is your crank. Got your little itty bitty rod right there with your piston up in the sleeve over here. Now what we're looking for is, we're going to look for that little rod back there. You don't see that little rod and that little gear? That little gear is plastic. That little rod right there needs to come out. I do gotta take off this right here. I gotta take that nut off, that there. I probably gotta take the carb off here, because I think I grind, that one video I watched that you grind off the top of the rod, and it makes it a hell of a lot easier. So that's our plan from here. We're also gonna try removing this oil sensor thing, because it really does nothing for us other than shuts our engine off, which I think I have it disconnected. At least I thought I had disconnected, but it should have been disconnected, I think, because I think a while ago I was having issues. But whatever it is, we're gonna disconnect that. One video I watched said you gotta thread this hole here, which I'll show all this here. Actually, you know what? I'll probably try to use this for something else. We'll get to there. Yes, I got the arm right back here. So first things first, we're gonna get this arm disconnected, get this carburetor up here, and see how it goes from there. Alright, so now what we gotta do here, I cut right here. I just tried putting it down. Problem is, it's literally, right where that notch is at, literally pops out right there. So it's literally, this piece literally has to be chopped off to get it out of here without taking out the crank. So we're gonna get a grinder, chop it off real quick. You can use a Dremel. Dremel's probably easier, what the guy used in his video. And yeah, so let's get to work on that, and then we'll get to the governor back there. Ah, it's hot. I touched it. I always gotta touch. Don't touch. Ow. Got the arm off. Now to get this off. Alright, so to get this governor out, I think there's a few ways. You can do it the proper way, which is like removing that little metal, there's like a little metal C-clamp kind of thing in there, which is hard to get to. But if you just take a screwdriver, don't recommend it. I'm not going to recommend it, but you can do it at your own will. Take a screwdriver, put it in there, and you hit it with a hammer a couple times, and eventually you break it out, and then the whole thing comes out. I just had it for 5-10 minutes because, probably about 5 minutes, because when you hit it, sometimes you jam yourself in there, and sometimes the clip got jammed in a different direction, and so it got a little weird, but I went back and forth, and eventually I got it out, and it was pretty easy. Yep, there you go. I got it out. I knocked the thing right through it, but I got her out. Not too much, a little cruddy crud in there, which I don't like, but we'll clean it out. We'll get all that cruddy crud out. So the next thing we're taking out this, basically it's like an oil sensor. It's kind of like a little float for the oil to say, hey, your oil's too low, basically, or you lost your oil, you know. Usually a lot of times you take these off or deactivate them, because when you try to drift your go-kart or your whatever machine this is on, if it tilts over and all the oil sloshes to one side, what happens is it actually says, hey, you're in out of oil. All the oil's still there and everything's still working fine. It's just all the oil sloshed to one side of the engine, so it's like, hey, and it shuts the motor off. So a lot of times you disconnect the wire, it turns it off, which is what I did, or you do this way, you take it out and it's gone. Now, what I'm doing with this whole conversion here, there's a little pipe. There's a little, which we'll see up in the next coming clip. There's a little pipe that comes in, and a little tube comes down. Now, I swapped the pipe out, a little rubber pipe thing out for my own little rubber tube thing, and I'm using that as an oil pickup for the turbo. So I'm gonna be sucking it through the side of the engine through this little thing right here. And what I decided to do is going to basically give us a port for us to suck oil out from the crankcase instead of from an external source and stuff like that. So hopefully it's going to work. Haven't found out if it works yet. We'll find out soon enough. Alright, so we got the governor out. I couldn't get this thing out, which I'm probably just gonna leave it in there. I'm just gonna bolt it up, red Loctite it so it doesn't go anywhere. Or not red lock, I'll blue Loctite it just so it doesn't go anywhere. But other than that, I think we're pretty good on the governor side. Right now I gotta wait for a gasket to come. So like I said, this gasket's all crapped up, so now I gotta wait for that. But other than that, what we're gonna do up here, I'm gonna tap this up here to so right now I have the vacuum pump for the for the fuel right here. Oh, like the fuel a little bit. Hooked up to the carburetor side. So basically it's hooked up right here. Oh no, where'd it go? Oh, on the other side over here. So I see all these hoses over here. It's all hooked up over there. So problem is that's like it's boosted. Vacuum pumps, they only work off of they only work off vacuum and the pulsation of the engine. So like basically negative, positive pressures being forced, like, you know, going in. So like piston comes up, sucks it in, stops, sucks it in, stops, and basically that pulse of like suction, no suction, suction, no suction is what sucks the fuel, well, causes this thing to go up and down and pumps the fuel up into the carburetor when you use one of these pumps over here. So what I'm gonna do is, this one guy said that you can use this port here as it, and this is a boosted engine now, so it's a good idea to go inside the crankcase because there's more vacuum in here than there is up there, and more fluctuation between things in here than up there. So we're gonna do up here just so we have constant fuel, no issues fueling coming into the engine. So tap this to like maybe a quarter, whatever this, I think it's like a quarter. I'm assuming it's a quarter. That's my guess. That's gonna be my number one guess. But yeah, so tap that, and that's gonna be that's what we're gonna use for our pulse pump. So now what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna make our pickup tube. Basically, there's a plastic thing on the inside with threads, with a thing, basically a tube going out the outside. Now I found a nut that went onto that. I Loctited it on, so I screwed that onto there. I drilled out half the threads on the nut. I found this tube thing. It had some threads, so I grinded them off. So I grinded them off. I test fitted on. This is me was test fitting it. There's the nut. As I see, half the threads are gone. And then we had this tube. It was threaded. But like I said, I grinded it down, and now it goes on like that. How am I gonna hold it on to the nut? I put some JB Weld on it so that wouldn't move. The magical thing to this whole process once again, which you can see right here, we are putting the JB Weld around it. Now I didn't want to glop it too much, but I put just enough. Now I put it in the hole. I didn't want to shove it in the hole, so I kind of put it in. I said twist it little by little, just enough to get in there. Then I had to get a box or find something that was able to hold this up. So I got this box that helped support it up so it wouldn't be dialed down. It'd be dialed like at least straight or a little bit up. And a little bit up so the oil can drain back down easier and nothing will get stuck. But this is basically the finished product. This is what we got for our oil pickup. Now we're gonna get on to tapping our top of the engine for the pulse pump for the gas. All right, guys. So I'm gonna be drilling into this hole here. We got a 1764 drill bit. I will be using a 764 first just to make the hole slightly bigger, and then finish it off with this one. We'll be drilling this in for this guy, and like I said before, we're going to be using this to actually make it so that this can be used for the pulse pump instead of the intake manifold on this. That's going to be pressurized actually, and will not most likely, I don't think will work with the pulse pump. So what we got to do first, of course, we got to drill the thing out. I think the first drill that I used was a little too small, so I went to the bigger size actually, and that was perfect. Now the hardest part about tapping things is just getting the right hole size. If you don't do the right hole size, you're gonna have miserable time. Either you're not gonna have enough threads, or you're gonna have basically too small a hole for your tap and die set to go into. So what I got here, I had to look for the right size, which the right size I think was 8mm, and it was a 1.0 pitch. So how to find it? Then you had to put in this little tool, then go back over here, and basically put it right in, and just try to turn this thing little by little. Now at first I didn't use any WD-40 or oil. So it was a little hard to get going, but after I used some oil, I was able to go right through nice and easily, and we got nice, perfect threads. Alright, so we got the inside all cleaned up. I did put some oil on these gears a little bit. All I gotta do now is just clean up the gasket surface here. Just got the new gaskets, and now I just gotta put the new gasket on with the cover, and then pretty much just finish routing all this, itty bitty little stuff here, and ready to get this thing started up. So thankfully the engine wasn't too dirty. It just had a few metal particles from doing the tapping tap and dying, and then also just from breaking the couple plastic pieces. So I just cleaned out all the old oil, the old particles that are in the engine. Got the gasket all scraped off. Gasket wasn't too bad. I ended up using like a little sand block kind of eventually, and just kind of give a quick little, nothing too much because it's aluminum. So just a couple quick little scripts all around the edges. And after that, she seemed pretty clean. So we continue on to putting on the good old front case cover, which this time I did not mistakenly take out the cancer by accident. So this time I was able to just went on pretty decently, got a little stuck for a second, but after a second or two I was able to give it a couple of pops, and she went right in, nice and flat and everything, and beautifully yellow. Alright guys, so here's the engine. It's all put back together, everything's put together basically the way it will be. The only issue we're having is the air bubbles in the system, in the oil system. Why is this happening? Inside of here, there's a little plastic like this that goes down, and where my pickup tube basically goes down in the engine. When I was putting together, this thing rotated, which rotated thing inside, and I believe it broke the seal inside of it. So I need to take it back apart to put some JB Weld, our magical thing, this whole thing, JB Weld into it to seal it all up now. And I at least do know this will work. This concept is working really good. So with that all being said, listen, that's me for this video on this part here, because all I gotta do now is just actually go put this thing on the go-kart and finish plumbing the fuel lines, with the fuel tanks there, if that's there, and take this thing back apart and get this whole oil thing all situated here. So other than that, guys, if you guys enjoyed this video and like the new style, these videos layouts, leave a comment down below. Leave a like on the video if you guys want to support the build. Subscribe to the channel. Do what it takes to follow your dreams. Don't let them get in your way. I'll see you guys in the next one.